Hello, friends. Welcome back to Out of Patience. In the world of science, where logic is sacred and chaos is in charge, things fall apart for reasons no one writes down. When ambition collides with bureaucracy, when brilliance hits a budget ceiling, when the system tells you to quit, one guy stays behind to take notes. So when the bench goes sideways, we send in Oliver Bogler. Here is the latest dispatch from Standard Deviation. Take it away, Oliver.
How do you learn to do anything? Trying, getting feedback, and trying again. It's no different for science, and the quality of the feedback is critical. Scientists get their feedback from lots of places, but one of the most important is peer review. Now, the primary role of peer review is the evaluation of grants and papers in the competition, respectively, to get funding and be published. But because it comes from anonymous experts, it also provides the most honest, unvarnished feedback a scientist can get. That means that there is something worse than not getting a proposal funded. Not getting it funded and not getting feedback.
That's the trash. It's the trash can. Your grant got removed to the trash can.
I'm Dr. Oliver Bogler, a cancer biologist supporting scientists in telling their stories. Today, we're hearing the story of Dr. Nikki Maphis, an early career investigator whose grant on Alzheimer's was thrown away.
March 4th or 5th was the day it was supposed to be discussed, and I kept checking my email so I could see what they thought of my grant if it was going to be funded.
When the email finally came, it was confusing. At first, Nikki thought her grant had just been assigned to another panel of experts.
And I was like, what does that mean? And I started Googling these numbers and these letters. I'd never seen anything like it before.
But it didn't make any sense. So she reached out to the scientific review officer at NIH, who was in charge of her grant.
And I was in my car when this happened, crying because she told me I'm so sorry. That scientific review group number that they listed, it's a holding pan. And I said, what do you mean by holding pan? And she says, it's the trash. I'm sorry. And I'm like, excuse me?
To add insult to injury, Nikki soon found out that she would also not be allowed to learn anything from the process.
And it got so much worse. It wasn't just that it was thrown away. It was just, I'm not going to get any comments or feedback.
This was devastating on many levels, not least because for Nikki, as for many scientists, her research was deeply personal. It started with curiosity.
They were describing the neurotransmitters and how they're made in the brain, and I really found that fascinating.
But soon her growing interest in how the brain works connected personally.
When I was graduating from college, my grandmother had just received her diagnosis for Alzheimer's disease. And seeing that firsthand,
it was terrible news. It motivated Nikki to move to the University of New Mexico to work in an Alzheimer's research lab and get her PhD. Her project was focused on a vaccine against pathological tau, a protein involved in the disease. Her team secured a $1 million grant to move to a clinical trial. The work got Nikki her doctorate, but it meant so much more.
For me, it felt like I was doing something for her. We would have these kind of frustrating conversations often, especially when I moved across the country. She didn't understand why I had to move to Mexico. And I had to explain to her, no, Grandma, this is New Mexico. And then she would, well, why did you go all the way out there? I'm like, well, Grandma, I'm doing Alzheimer's research. And then she would ask me, am I ever going to get better?
Nikki has graduated and moved on, but remains involved in this important work.
I keep referring to it as my science baby. It was really exciting to be involved with something that could be changing the face of Alzheimer's disease for real.
She had learned that she enjoyed research, so now she's doing a postdoc, a kind of science apprenticeship between being a grad student and becoming a professor.
And that's when I started working in the field of alcohol research. There have been multiple clinical reports that alcohol and alcohol use disorder are these modifiable risk factors for your development of Alzheimer's disease and dementia.
It was a new area of investigation, perfect for someone at Nikki's career stage.
I was able to kind of merge those two fields together and differentiate myself from either of my bosses by doing something very unique.
As her research was thriving, Nikki was also exploring career paths. Thanks to an NIH-supported training program at the University of New Mexico, she had a chance to teach undergraduate students at local colleges and learned that she loved it.
I want to be a faculty member. I want to be someone that I can mentor other scientists that are kind of in my same situation where, we came from very meager beginnings and really want to do something that is changing to the world.
So she began planning her path to academia and soon realized that a grant of her own would be essential.
I'm always thinking about grants, which is the creative part of being a scientist.
And NIH had just the right mechanism for her. It was called the K99R00 MOSAIC.
And this program is meant to diversify the faculty population. Faculty, no surprise to you, overwhelmingly white and male. I'm a woman. I'm the first of my family to go to college and earn a 4-year college degree. And I'm from a relatively poor area, underserved area, from a relatively poor family. So I qualified for this program.
Over the next several months, Nikki gathered data, wrote and polished her application. She submitted her grant for peer review. Unfortunately, the outcome was not what she had hoped for. It did not get funded.
It's rare you submit a grant and it's like, check mark, good job, here's $1 million. That's not how it works.
But the rejection came with important feedback from the reviewers, experts in Nikki's area of research. She used it to revise her application and resubmit it.
We are always looking for a way to improve our science.
She was optimistic for this second round, but the world had other ideas.
Unfortunately, because of what's happening, they ended the MOSAIC program unceremoniously. It wasn't supposed to end until 2027.
This was in February, just a few weeks after the inauguration of President Trump. When Nikki heard that her grant had landed in the trash at the beginning of March, she understood.
And that was one of the reasons why they said they were not going to review it. And so, insult to injury, 3 people read my revised grant. I had done all of the work to make it better. I have never seen their comments, and I will never see their comments for my grant. I will not know if they liked it, if it was going to be funded, what my score would have been.
It's hard to overstate the impact this will have on Nikki's future.
I should be right now establishing my lab and getting reagents and ordering supplies, and I'm kind of in this limbo, waiting to see what happens. It's likely career ending.
This wasn't an isolated incident. MOSAIC and many similar programs were deleted. They were all designed to diversify the community of scientists, to strengthen science by bringing in many different viewpoints. Undaunted, that very same week, Nikki presented a lecture on the 5 senses at an event for 300 middle school girls in Albuquerque.
They wanted to have somebody talk about science and get some of these kiddos interested in science. It was a way for me to kind of dissociate a little bit from the sadness that I was feeling over the NIH and my career and what's happening, to try to instill in these young women that there is a place for them in science and that they can be scientists, even if nobody in the family has ever been a scientist before, even if nobody in the family has ever gone to college before, even if nobody in their family has ever graduated from high school before.
She is very aware of what is happening around us, and yet is not giving up on her grant.
I tried again because the 3rd time is the charm. I took out the words that are not allowed to be spoken anymore. It made my career background a lot shorter. I can tell you that much.
She had to deny her past, and while Nikki retains her optimism, she also has a clear view of what is happening.
This whole war on science, this whole war on NIH we're going to feel the impacts for years and for generations. There are scientists right now that are leaving science en masse because there's no role for them. They can't find a job.
I fear for this generation of scientists, as Dr. Maphis says.
And it's a stack of dominoes, just gonna translate down the line.
This is Oliver Bogler with Standard Deviation on the Out of Patience podcast network. A special thanks to Dan Bogler.